Hello and welcome to the Gaggle Global Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, during the first week of the second Trump administration, Trump presented himself as the champion of free speech. He was finally going to bring to an end government control of speech, government repression of public speakers, government interference in the First Amendment rights of American citizens. That was a wonderful first week, and you thought, great, that's a nice change from the Biden years. And now in the second week, is reversed on that. And of course, as we had predicted, he would, of course, the issue on which he would reverse would be this scourge, this alleged scourge, this horrific, devastating problem besetting America, the rising anti-Semitism. Entirely fictional, complete fiction. No one has ever presented any serious evidence that America is engulfed in rampant anti-Semitism. But nonetheless, that's the Trump administration. And one has to keep in mind that this goes back to his first term, because in the very first term, he also issued an executive order, directing all government agencies to address the scourge of anti-Semitism.
He set up an
Exactly.
anti-Semitism czar. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So let's just go back to this. This is 2019, and here is this executive order that that he signed December the 11th, 2019. So obviously, in time for the 2020 presidential race. And here, he's saying, my administration is committed to combating the rise of anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic incidents in the United States. And then let me go back. And particularly, again, anti-Semitic incidents have increased since 2013. So we're going all the way back, 2013. And students in particular continue to face anti-Semitic harassment in schools and on university and college campuses. So it's nothing to do with October the 7th. This is 2019. They're saying, and again, none of this is true. I mean, it's just untrue. Students are not facing anti-Semitic harassment on university campuses or in schools. And then he goes on, it shall be the policy, to enforce Title VI against prohibited forms of discrimination rooted in anti-Semitism. Again, what discrimination? I mean, has anyone ever presented any evidence that any Jewish student or anyone has been subjected to discrimination on the basis of being a Jew? And then he says that, and this is where it gets very important, he says that the executive order will use the non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism adopted on May the 26th, 2016 by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which states that anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property towards Jewish institutions. And then we have these lists.
Well, hang on, George. So if we look at this definition, this non-legally binding working definition,
right?
Why don't we just replace anti-Russia or Russophobia?
Of course.
Okay, okay, Russophobia and certain perceptions of Russians.
Right.
Do we have that law too?
Nope. Never,
Do we
definitely
have that
not.
for Muslims? Do we have that for
No, 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 no,
Mexicans? Do we have
no,
that for Haitians?
no, no, no. See, like, exactly. And this is what quite kind of interesting. Here was this. It's on the State Department site, which is defining anti-Semitism. And of course, they use.
Yeah, we did a video on this.
We
I
did a
remember.
video on this, and remember what we had just to remind people this these examples, the manifestations of this anti-Semitism. And here are these examples calling for aiding or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of radical ideology. And then he says, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of the Jews as collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy, or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, and other societal institutions. But right away, one has to say this kind of stuff is covered by the First Amendment. You may not like these expressions, about Jewish world conspiracies or whatever. You don't may disagree with them, but people are entitled to express those views. I mean, that's what the First Amendment does. What free speech is about. It's people allowed to express their views. But no, unless it's anti-Semitic, and of course, as we'll see from Trump's order, they use the criminal powers of the state to come down on people who are expressing views. And then accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. But let's keep in mind, people do that all the time. When Dylan Roof went into that black church in 2015 and shot up those black congregationists, there was a general meltdown in the media in which all of white America was deemed to be guilty for the crime of this one person. Similarly with George Floyd. I mean, George Floyd was actually, he died of natural causes during an arrest, but nonetheless, the entirety of white America was deemed to be guilty of the murder of George Floyd. So it's apparently that it is permissible to hold a collective responsible for the crime of one individual. And then it says, denying the fact, scope, mechanism, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of Nazi Germany and its supporters and accomplices during World War II. Again, this kind of stuff, this is historical scholarship. Again, you may not like what people say, but these findings, this is part of free speech, free inquiry. And, that's it, you don't like their findings, then you can just refute their findings.
And that's what has been done. I mean,
right.
when we look at the Holocaust, yeah, there are people that would fall under the rubric of Holocaust denial,
right.
but
right.
they've been roundly challenged.
Right.
Roundly, okay?
Right. Exactly. And you challenge them by citing facts, you citing books, sources. That's it. That's what you do. You don't use the powers of government to go after them. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide or the interests of their own nations. That seems to be a very legitimate line of criticism. We know plenty of internet influencers, neoconservatives, and we can say absolutely about them that they owe their true allegiance to Israel. They care far more about Israel than they do about the United States.
Isn't it really interesting? And this is something that is going to be talked about, considering the trajectory of the Trump administration, is that it's widely believed that there are Israeli firsters, okay? But saying it, you can't say it.
Right. Yes, that's right.
Because people know it,
but
you can't say it.
That's right.
Mike Huckabee, what's her name? Just got confirmed for
Elise Stefanik.
UN.
Elise Stefanik.
Elise Stefanik.
Yeah.
I mean, she can't even say.
Right.
From one administration to another for decades, the two-state solution. She can't even say that now.
That's it. No, absolutely not. Because the Jews have a claim on that land, going back to biblical times. And she said it. That's what she said during her hearings. You'd have thought that might be a disqualification, but it turned out not to be a disqualification for her to say,
Well,
"Hey,
I,
what
I
kind of
mean,
nonsense are you talking about? You got biblical. You're making a claim on land according to the Bible."
well, I mean, then why do you want to be ambassador to the United Nations? Because the United Nations is built on resolutions, okay?
Right,
It's not based on myths or
right,
stories or religious books.
right. Yeah, exactly. Um, and yeah, so I mean, but again, what's so interesting about when you read this is that you're not allowed to say this about Israel. You can say all this about any other country. You can say absolutely, the Germans throughout the history have been a bunch of anti-Semites and Nazis. All the way back to Luther, whatever. They're all Nazis.
That's right.
You can say
The-
about America. America was founded on racism. America was,
Look,
it's been incorrigibly racist throughout its history. You can say all that. Try saying that about Israel.
it's interesting. We had a professor, a German professor on not long ago, and there was something called the historians debate in the 1980s
80s,
about
yeah.
German history.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And essentially, to boil it all down, is that do all roads, all German history, the totality
Right.
of German history is linear to the Holocaust.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
but you could talk about the Germans that way.
Right.
Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
but you
Absolutely.
can't talk about
That's right.
Israel that way or
That's right.
Israelis that way.
That's right. And I remember back in the 1950s reading books like that, from Luther to Hitler. Boom. You
From
could say,
Luther to
yeah, right,
Hitler.
from Luther to I think that was the title of a book, From Luther to Hitler. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it says denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, i.e., by claiming that the existence of state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Well, why can't you do that? I mean,
Well, I mean, if you look at the
you can
doc,
disagree. Why can't you do that?
if you look at the documents, the original thinkers of creating the state of Israel, it was very racially driven. I mean, it's
Right,
part of the documentation.
right,
Okay. They said a settler, a colonial
right,
experiment. I mean, in the early 20th century, nobody was embarrassed to
right,
say, yeah, we want to start a colony. We want to put settlers there. It
right,
was, it was in public documents. I
right,
mean,
right. Yeah,
who's ashamed of saying that?
right. And then it says, applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation. What the hell does that mean? I mean,
I
so
don't
no,
know.
you're supposed to say, whenever you criticize Israel, you're supposed to say, yes, but Israel is doing nothing different from what Russia is doing, from what Turkey is doing, what from Saudi Arabia is doing, whatever. Do you say this about anyone else? Well, yes,
No,
I'm
no,
going to criticize
it,
Russia, but I'm also going to criticize Germany, France, Turkey, and the United States at the same time. I can't just single one country out.
what is so bizarre about that last bullet point is basically it essentially boils down to this. Israel is an apartheid country, though it is democratic at the same time.
Right,
It's a democratic country that has apartheid.
right,
Okay, it's a specific feature of their democracy.
right, right. That's it. That's right. And then goes on, holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. Well, that's just simply the other side of the coin, because if you criticize somebody, you attack somebody who criticizes Israel, you're saying he's anti-Semitic. Then you're just doing exactly the same thing. It's just a mirror image of that. It's saying, well, holding Jews collectively responsible. So therefore, if criticizing Israel means you're holding the Jews responsible for Israel, then that is very definition of anti-Semitism, because you're saying here that you're holding Jews collectively responsible for the actual state of Israel. Yes, and you're doing the same thing by saying anytime you criticize Israel, you're essentially criticizing all Jews. Whereas, of course, a critic of Israel is not criticizing Jews; is criticizing Israel. So that whole thing is saying, yeah, that's exactly, you are basically going for anti-Semitism by saying that, oh, if you're holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel, yeah, and you say you hold Jews then responsible by saying that any criticism of Israel is by definition anti-Semitic.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, this all short circuits itself. The most prominent, most outspoken,
Yeah,
most eloquent
right,
critics of Israel are Jews
Right,
in America, in the UK, and
right.
in Europe. Okay, so they're anti-Semitic
Yeah,
too.
that's
Okay.
right. That's right. And then drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. Well, that's okay. So you call that, again, anti-Semitic, but you can criticize, you can call anyone else Nazi. I mean, it's like it happens all the time. Everyone else gets to be called Nazi, however, ridiculous. Russians get to be called Nazis. The Serbs got to be called Nazis. Pakistanis call Indians in Kashmir Nazis. Everyone gets to be a Nazi. The Chinese are deemed to be Nazis according to what they're doing to the Uyghurs, but you can't say this about Israel.
Everyone's a Nazi except for people in Ukraine. Okay.
That's right. That's right. And then using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, for example, claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel. That's a very awkward one because that's kind of in the Bible. I mean, I don't know that I mean, that's it's there about with the Jews. So I don't know how they get around to that one. That was the reason why. Remember, Matt Gaetz voted against that legislation passed by Congress. They said, well, basically, we're going to deem the Bible to be anti-Semitic. Anyway, this is the order that Trump issued, and he says on December 11, 2019, I issued this order finding that students in particular faced anti-Semitic harassment in schools and on university and college campuses. This executive order provided interpretive assistance on the enforcement of the nation's civil rights law to ensure that they would protect American Jews to the same extent to which all other American citizens are protected. So imagine that. The most successful ethnic group in the United States, the most affluent group in the United States, they dominate, the film industry, the media business, Hollywood, Wall Street, the legal profession, but apparently the nation's civil rights laws just don't do anything to protect them. They're a uniquely vulnerable group, just outside of the laws, discriminated against and persecuted.
Who knew, George? I mean, I never noticed it growing up. It just suddenly happened, or it's always been there. It's been lurking in
It's
the shadow.
lurking. The hate that dare not speak its name.
This is very dangerous territory.
It is
Very, very dangerous.
right. And then it says the order reaffirms blah blah, and then and directs additional measures to advance the policy thereof in the wake of the Hamas terrorist attacks against the people of Israel. These attacks unleashed an unprecedented wave of vile anti-Semitic discrimination. Who was discriminated against? Vandalism and violence against our citizens, especially in our schools and on our campuses. Jewish students have faced an unrelenting barrage of discrimination.
Well, they have examples, please.
Exactly. Every time they come along with the examples, I mean, like the famous case of that the girl who claimed that somebody
Flag.
had a Palestinian flag and he got poked in the eye. Imagine that's a serious thing. You got a flag shoved into your eye.
The children of Gaza could only wish that would be
That's
the
right. And then it
would
turns
happen.
out, she appears on TV shows, and her eyes look pretty nice. I mean, it doesn't look like anyone has shoved a flagpole into her eye. But nonetheless, she got mileage, and all the news shows they featured her. Imagine she was at Columbia, and some horrible Palestinian or I don't know, some student sympathizing with the Palestinian has shoved a flag into her eye.
For all we know, it was an American Jew that was
Yes,
holding the flag.
yes, that's right. Um, And Jewish students are facing, that's right, denial of access to campus common areas and facilities, including libraries and classrooms, and intimidation, harassment, and physical threats and assault. And then it goes
So,
on.
are they experiencing Jim Crow? Did that suddenly come?
I mean, you could certainly say that, you have protests on campus and people are inconvenienced by it. I mean, but
Yep.
That's not specifically targeted at Jews. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you want to go to a class, it's going to be difficult if there are campus protests. I mean, that goes on all the time. You could
Yeah, but
ban
that
all
applies
campus
to
protests, but
everybody.
yeah, I mean, that is an inconvenience.
Yeah, but that's an inconvenience to everyone, not to specific.
Exactly, to everyone. It's not specifically to Jews. And
I
in
mean,
fact,
I'm sure that there may even be Palestinian students that are inconvenienced by pro-Palestinian
right, exactly.
legislation.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then within additional measures to combat campus anti-Semitism. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the head of each executive department or an agency shall submit a report to the president identifying all civil and criminal authorities or actions within the jurisdiction of that agency, beyond those already implemented, that might be used to curb or combat anti-Semitism. Let's read that again. Identifying all civil and criminal authorities or actions within the jurisdiction of that agency that might be used to curb or combat anti-Semitism. So imagine we still have this idea of anti-Semitism. We have this extraordinarily nebulous, dubious definition of anti-Semitism, and now they're already using criminal powers and civil powers. Those are serious things. I mean, you could
Yeah, well,
lose your job, lose your contract, and whatever, but you've got criminal in pursuit of something completely meaningless as this definition of anti-Semitism.
two words come to mind: witch hunt.
Exactly. That's right. And containing an inventory and analysis of all pending administrative complaints against or involving institutions of higher education alleging civil rights violations related to or arising from post October the 7th, 2023 campus anti-Semitism. So, if we talk about within the jurisdiction of that agency, you have to think, so you can go and punish universities. I mean, therefore, you are in a position to go and withhold funds from universities. That's a big stick. I mean, many universities depend on government funding. I mean, all the various government agencies, all the national science foundations, the Pentagon, the National Institutes of Health, they dollop out a lot of money to universities. So, you toe the line or you lose this funding. That's a very serious punishment.
It's going to be really ugly.
Right.
This is going to get very ugly.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be very, very damaging because of events that are going on halfway around the world. They're going to dictate policy in the United
Right.
States, and this is something that I think a lot of people are not ready for. Okay,
Right.
protests were one thing, but now you're going to use the administrative state to start punishing people for speech. I thought Trump was against that, but
Exactly. And, yeah, I thought you were going to dismantle the administrative state. And, here you're empowering the administrative state. Exactly. And then the report submitted by the Attorney General under this section shall additionally include an inventory and an analysis of all court cases against or involving institutions or higher education alleging civil rights violation related to or arising from post October the 7th, 2023 campus anti-Semitism, and indicate whether the Attorney General intends to or has taken any action with respect to such matters, including filing statements of interest or intervention.
well, I mean, in this section here, just three words says it all. Include an inventory.
That's right.
Keep the names.
That's
I
right.
want the
That's right.
names.
That's right. That's right. Um, and the Attorney General is encouraged to employ appropriate civil rights enforcement authorities to combat anti-Semitism. And then the report submitted by the Secretary of Education under this section shall additionally include an inventory and an analysis of all Title VI complaint and administrative actions, including in K-12 education, so it's in the schools, going to children, very small children, related to anti-Semitism, pending or resolved after October the 7th within the Department's Office of Civil Rights. And then, in addition to identifying relevant authorities to curb or combat anti-Semitism, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Homeland Security, so really pretty important, in consultation with each other, shall include in their reports recommendations for familiarizing institutions of higher education with the grounds of inadmissibility, so that such institutions may monitor for and report activities. Report activities. Oh, that's nice. Report to whom? Report activities by alien students and staff relevant to those grounds, and for ensuring that such reports about aliens lead, as appropriate and consistent with the applicable law, to investigations and, if warranted, actions to remove such aliens. So you can.
I don't know, George. I mean, it's familiar on some kind of visceral level. I swear, I think this is an English translation of a Stasi document.
Yes. Well, it certainly tells you that if you're a foreign student and you protest against anything about Israel, you're leaving the country. I mean, they're going to pack you up, and they're going to take you straight to the airport, and you're gone. That's it. Now the question is also there's mechanisms here to go after domestic students. I mean, they're using all kinds of these agencies of the administrative state, but particularly they're going to start threatening the administrators that you better impose disciplinary measures against expressions of anti-Semitism.
Names, give me names.
That's right. And of course, you can say once you say, anything about Palestine, or, oh, this should be Palestine. Hey, but that's where Israel is supposed to be. And you're talking about Palestine, boom, that's anti-Semitic.
Well,
you're gone.
What is so absurd about all of this is that one thing that has happened since the Hamas attack on October 7th is that there's been a proliferation of awareness of the history of the conflict. And that's good. A lot of people have had their eyes opened that normally would not have, this is, it's always, this has been going on from time immemorial. It's complicated. The Palestinians never know how to say yes. We've heard all of the bumper stickers. But what's coming to fore, George, is that George and I know, and many viewers know, there is a very long academic literature on all of this here. I mean, this is, let's take good souls like Jimmy Dore. He professed that he knew very little about any of this here. And then he had Norman Finkelstein and Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate and Glenn Greenwald and, the whole cast of characters, which we all like and respect. But, the implications of this document is that now it is no longer a legitimate area of academic study. This is what they're saying here.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's right. And you're using the coercive power of the state to enforce it. Yeah. And I think this is it. Yeah. So again, we start off with the Trump administration embarking on this. So, whoa, free speech. We're not going to do this anymore. And it's exactly the same. It's parallel to all those Barry Weiss and the rest of these people. Whoa, free speech. Those
Ben Shapiro and
Ben Shapiro. That's what I was thinking. Oh, Ben Shapiro and Laura Ingraham. Oh, free speech. We're not like these lily-livered, wimpy liberals who can't stand free speech. No, we love vigorous debate. We thrive on the cold, brisk shower of free debate. but not when it comes to Israel. In fact, there, we're ready to use the coercive power of the state against our political opponents. Huh. I mean, and this is absolutely so blatant. It's so outrageously dishonest, but it just it just glides by. We can make these points. Glenn Greenwald can make these points, and here they are. They've now got an administration that has promised, yeah, we're going to really crack down on these people,
Well,
and
I
this.
mean, it's we had Mark Zuckerberg, um, making his public confession. Mistakes were made, and we were going to do better and all of that. And we're going to have, instead of fact checkers, we'll have community notes. Okay, good. You're going. It's fine. It's fine. Well, this morning I was told that Facebook is deleting pro-Palestine stuff still.
Yes,
Okay. And comments are being deleted and all of that. So, no, thanks, helping us to get past the fraud called COVID, get past the fraud called Russiagate. But there's one thing that's going to stay, and it's going to get more and more rigid. So,
that's right.
it's not even one step forward. It's like one step forward, two steps back. It's going to get worse because all of this is connected. You can't run away from it. Okay.
Right.
It's corruption, foreign wars, civil liberty. It's all connected, everybody. You can't hide from it.
No.
What are
Yeah.
you going to just do?
No.
Chuck Schumer, what he said this and who said that? Okay.
Right.
Former Representative Matt Gaetz said this and that. That's not news. Nobody cares.
But
Okay.
yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, that when you get this ubiquitous dirty brush of anti-Semitism, then of course you're dubbed an anti-Semite, and then it's very difficult to wipe yourself clean, and that's the whole point of using this. That they do this very deliberately. So when you get Chuck Schumer who says, "Well, no, I think criticism of Israel is perfectly legitimate. However, I worry when such criticism becomes anti-Semitic. So you, Chuck Schumer, make this decision. It's up to you to make this decision. I think this is legitimate, or this is not legitimate. Oh, thank you very much. So, that that part is good, but then I don't like this. This is anti-Semitic. You made this up. And that's the whole point of these definitions, is that they simply, hey, we can call anything we like, especially what we don't like, we call it anti-Semitic, and that's it. And so this is why it's so dishonest, because of course once you're dubbed anti-Semitic, that's it. It's a career destroyer. Because then you have to prove your
Bobby
innocence.
Kennedy. Bobby
Exactly.
Kennedy. Look
Yeah.
what he.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Russell Brand.
Yeah. Right.
Not long ago, he was talking about genocide. He was talking about pro-Palestinian activists.
Yeah.
Gone.
Right.
Gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
did you see the selfie he had with Shmuley? No, it was a short video. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Palling around together.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right.
This is, George and I didn't live through it, but we're on the course of a new McCarthyism on steroids.
No. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
steroids.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. So
I worry about some of the people that we follow. I do worry. I do worry because these platforms will say, "See, we're just following the administration. We're following Donald Trump."
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right, and I think the what's so obnoxious is this flagrant hypocrisy. I mean, the whole idea: you come along, declare that you're a champion of free speech, and this is and you have utter contempt for it. Just not just you have it's not that you have double standards. You actually want to use the state to crack down on people. You actually want to do that.
And because the state is saying they're the arbiter saying there's bad speech out there.
Right.
That's not our job.
Right.
to mitigate that or
Right.
to negotiate that. It's up to other speakers. You work it out yourselves, okay? The state will protect the speech of both.
Right.
It's not going to side with one speech.
Right.
It's going to say, we don't get involved in that.
Right.
We create a mechanism in which the community sets its own standards, okay? And if it's a bad idea, then prove it. Show that your
Well,
idea is
yeah,
better. That's
exactly. I
the
mean, that's what
tradition.
that, you know, exactly. That was it's supposed to be the modern kind of the liberal era of the sort of the government that basically is the sort of the night watchman theory that is just basically it keeps out of internal debates, because what you had before the modern era, yeah, governments cared very much, which what you said, whether you called into question the divinity of the Pope, or you called into question some religious dogma, or you called into the question the authority of the king. Yeah, you went straight to prison, torture, execution. But now we're not going to do that, and therefore, whatever your views, however obnoxious, or, you can say these are really, really obnoxious views, but that's essentially what
Well,
free speech is
well,
supposed to
we
be.
have the phrase "the invisible hand of the market," a la Adam Smith. But this is the very visible hand of the administrative state.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And it's going to be really ugly.
Right, right.
And you're going to watch like Elise Stefanik just can make complete buffoons out of themselves. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, personally, we've talked about this before. We were waiting for it. It's happening, and I think it's very dark foreboding because if you can't express opinions that are not popular with the state and with people with power, it affects everything eventually. Speech is the top of the pyramid. All of the other rights
Right.
follow. If you don't have that one, then the rest of them they
That's
lose
right.
their meaning.
That's
It's
exactly right.
glue that keeps
That's
it
right.
all
That's why
together.
it's called the First Amendment. It's called the First Amendment for a reason. It was the first one, very first one. So, anyway,
Alrighty.
so that's
We're going to keep an eye on this
exactly.
here. I mean, so the edict has been signed. Now the witch hunt will begin because I want names, names, and names. Okay.
Right.
And they're going to give them the names.
Right.
Okay. All right. This is Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. We'll reconvene on Sunday, and we have the live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Eastern
And then
time, and then
George,
Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time on my solo. In the meantime, these ferocious hounds who say, yeah, we're going to sign this decree very shortly, immediate execution for anyone who's a freeloader. And we got to repeat, no, you can't just execute people, for not donating. You got to calm down. But these dogs are hardliners. They just want to execute, the freeloaders. So, we have to teach them the principles of liberty. It's not easy. Dogs don't understand the concept. So we're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology, and above all, we'll teach these dogs what liberty is all about. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye-bye.